Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guests today are Sandra Albertson and Rebecca Johnson, both representing Thunder Bay Counts. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate being here.
Rebecca, let me start with you. You wear a number of hats. You're a member of City Council here in Thunder Bay. What's your role with Thunder Bay Counts?
Well, I'll go back a little bit, Steve, and I sit on a number of strategies as well as being on council, as you're probably aware. Many of your viewers are aware of that as well. So I got involved in Thunder Bay Counts because I do sit on a number of those strategies, and I'm saying, like, they all do different works and they're good things and all the rest of it, but how do we get them all working together a little bit more for Thunder Bay? So the United Way were kind and contacted me and said, Rebecca, we're having a new initiative, and would you like to take on the chair position of it? And I said, you know what, we need to do something. To me, it was just an extension of the work that I was already am doing in the community. So that's how I got involved, was really seriously looking at bringing some of these strategies together. How do we feel that we can make a next step in our community? And so that's where I'm at, and I think it's quite exciting.
Let me ask you about these strategies. So give us an example. What are some of these strategies that are already taking place in the city?
Well, when I started to look at all of the strategies, approximately 21 of them.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's huge. You don't be, and actually I brought a list because I thought it might be a question you would ask. But you can think about everything from age-friendly. You can think about the crime prevention. You can think about the youth strategy. You can think about the drug strategy. You can think about the healthy communities, the work that DSAB is doing in the community, the poverty strategy. So there's just a huge number. I'm just going to give some that are the food strategy, earth care. There's an Aboriginal strategy. So they go up to about 21, as I said. So, and they're all doing good work. But how do we start looking at and a lot of the things when I went going from one table to the next table, I'm saying some of the things that they're doing, they're overlapping. And why is one group doing it and the other group starting to do the same thing, and we don't have the resources, financial or human, anymore? We've got to start working together. So this, to me, was an opportunity to make some of that happen.
Excellent. And Sandra, so you work with the United Way as a full-time staff.
Correct.
And so what's your job there at the United Way?
I work as the United Way's Director of Community Impacts. So a lot of my work is looking at, first of all, what United Way does in respect to their funding and allocations with the funded agencies, but also looking in more of a community development role. I've worked on various strategies as well in the community. And one of the big pieces of United Way that is not well known in our community is that we are looking at the bigger picture of the community and how positive change can occur, and working as an organization who's relatively neutral, because United Way isn't seen as any specific type of organization other than the fundraising one, that we can actually bring people to planning tables and discussion tables to talk about what that change might look like.
So how did this Thunder Bay Counts develop? Where did that come from?
Well, it was a conversation that myself and Judy Sander from the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre had several years ago. And it was kind of on the heels of an initiative that they had taken on called MESH. And MESH was, again, a very good initiative. It brought a lot of people from our community together to talk about what kind of changes they would like to see happen in our community, but it had no mechanism to actually implement change or to measure change. So what we started talking about at that time was, how could we actually take some of these ideas and move them forward as a way that people can actually work together to see that change occur, and how then could we actually measure to find out if the change is actually happening. And we came across what Peel, Ontario was doing, and looked at their model, and we thought it was quite a good model in respect to developing community goals and looking at how we can measure if the community is reaching those goals, and then bringing people together to work on those goals. So that kind of is in a quick nutshell of how Thunder Bay Counts came to be and what it's about.
So you talk about change. You had discussions with Judy back, what, 4 years ago you were saying?
At
or-
least 2, 3, yeah.
Okay, and so what kind of changes were you thinking of?
Well, we knew that there is areas of like poverty and safety and racism and all, these common things that keep coming up over and over again in our community. And as Rebecca said, there's a lot of really good work going on in our community, but there was nothing to really bring all those different planning tables together. And no mechanism, as I said, as to how we could measure the progress. So when we started talking about the concept of Thunder Bay Counts, we didn't want to have any preconceived notion that this is going to be what we're going to do. What we wanted to do is go back to the community and look at some of the things that have already been researched and some of the information that we already had available to start looking at, okay, so what are those common themes that Rebecca had mentioned, and what are some of these things that the community is working on and overlapping and talking about over and over again. So that's kind of the basis of where we started with the project.
And so you mentioned, is it the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre?
Correct.
Is that right? I'm not even familiar. I think about them to spawn new businesses. What's their role here?
They're actually, they're part of our initial steering committee, and they're our collaborative partner in the grant that is funding Thunder Bay Counts. We're funded through the Ontario Trillium Foundation for an initial 2-year period, and the Innovation Centre is our partner in that grant. The reason why it's an interesting partnership is because United Way brings kind of the community impact, the community development side of it, but the Innovation Centre brings the technology side. And what we hope to do with the project is to develop a website, and actually we are in the process of developing a website that we can house all this information. So because they are quite the experts in that area, they're going to be the ones that are going to take on the technology side. And then also they're working on another project that is all around data collection. We have a lot of data in Thunder Bay, and we just don't share it well, unfortunately. And what the Innovation Centre has been doing is starting a kind of a database of who's collecting what kind of data already in Thunder Bay. And then what we can do with that information once we have finalized our community goals is we'll have sources of places that we can actually get information and data so that we can have a starting point as to where we can begin to measure, so we know what kind of statistics and things like that are already in our community, so that when we're starting to measure progress towards goals, we'll have some of that ground data already established. So they bring those two key pieces to the project as well.
I've got a lot more questions to ask, but we need to take a little break, so please stay with us and we'll be right back.